7 Wonders of the Ancient World. Great Pyramid of Giza, Egypt. Khufu, King Khufu, Khafra, King Khafra, and Menkaura, Michelimus. And 2500 BC as a royal tomb. The largest and most impressive is King Khufu, known as the Great Pyramid. On a site of 13 hectares he is believed to contain more than 2 million stone blocks, each weighing 2 to 30 tons. Cheops was the tallest building in the world for over 4,000 years. In fact, it took modern men until the 19th century to build taller structures. Amazingly, the nearly symmetrical Egyptian pyramids were built without the aid of modern tools and surveying equipment. How did the Egyptians build the pyramids? Scientists believe the Egyptians used wooden rollers and sleds to move the stones into place. The sloping walls, designed to mimic the rays of the sun god Ra, were originally constructed as stairs and then filled with limestone. The interior of the pyramid contained narrow corridors and hidden chambers in a failed attempt to stop a tomb robbery. Modern archaeologists have uncovered some great treasures within the ruins, but most of what was once contained in the pyramid, he believes, was looted within 250 years of its completion. Hanging Gardens of Babylon. According to ancient Greek poets, the Hanging Gardens of Babylon, near the Euphrates River in present-day Iraq, were built around 600 BC by the Babylonian king Nebuchadnezzar II. The gardens are said to have been planted up to 75 feet in the air on vast square brick terraces arranged on tiers like a theater. The king is believed to have constructed the towering gardens for his lover Amidus to assuage her nostalgia for the natural beauty of her hometown in Media, northwestern present-day Iran. Later writers described how people could walk between beautiful gardens on tall stone pillars. Modern scientists have concluded that for a garden to survive, it must be irrigated using a system of pumps, water wheels and cisterns, pumping water many meters into the air from the Euphrates. There are several descriptions of gardens in both Greek and Roman literature, but none are direct, and no references to gardens have been found in Babylonian cuneiform inscriptions. As a result, most modern scholars believe that the existence of gardens is part of an inspired but still fictional story. Statue of Zeus at Olympia. The famous statue of Zeus, king of the gods in Greek mythology, was created by the Athenian sculptor Phidias and was made around the middle of the 5th century BC. This statue represents the god of thunder, shirtless and seated on a wooden throne. The armrests of the throne were supported by his 2 sculpted sphinxes, mythical creatures with the head and chest of a woman, the body of a lion, and the wings of a bird. The statue of Zeus was richly decorated with gold and ivory. At 40 feet tall, he was so tall that his head reached the top of his temples. According to legend, after the statue was completed, the sculptor Phidias asked Zeus for his signature of approval. Shortly after, the temple was struck by lightning. A statue of Zeus adorned the Temple of Olympia for over 8 centuries until Christian priests persuaded the Roman emperor to close the temple in the 4th century AD. At that time, the statue was taken to a temple in Constantinople, where it is believed to have been destroyed in a fire in 462. Temple of Artemis at Ephesus. In fact, Artemis had multiple temples. Many altars and temples were destroyed and rebuilt on the same site in Ephesus, a Greek port city on the west coast of present-day Turkey. The finest of these structures are his 2 marble temples, built around 550 BC. Or 350 BC. The writer Antipater of Sidon in the Temple of Artemis at Ephesus wrote, "Except on Olympus the sun never saw anything so wonderful." The original Temple of Artemis was designed by the Cretan architect Chersiphron and his son Metagenes and decorated by the most famous artists of antiquity. The building was destroyed on July 21, 356 BC. According to legend, on the same night that Alexander the Great was born. It was set on fire by a Greek citizen named Herostratus. He claimed to have burned a miracle so that his name would go down in history. He was executed and the government made it illegal to speak his name. About 6 years later, construction began on the new Temple of Artemis. The new building was surrounded by marble staircases leading to terraces over 400 feet long. Inside stood 127 of her 60-foot marble columns and a statue of Artemis, the Greek goddess of the hunt. Archaeologists disagree as to whether the building had an outdoor ceiling or was covered with wooden tiles. The temple was largely destroyed by the Ostrogoths in 262 AD, and it was not until the 1860s that an archaeologist unearthed the first remains of temple columns at the bottom of the Cayster River. Mausoleum at Halicarnassus. The Mausoleum of Halicarnassus, in what is now southeastern Turkey, was the tomb that Artemisia built after her death in 353 BC for her husband Mausolus, king of Carnia in Asia Minor. Mausolus was also Artemisia's brother, and legend has it that she was so saddened by Artemisia's death that, in addition to building her mausoleum, she mixed his ashes with water and drank them. The massive mausoleum was made entirely of white marble and was thought to be about 135 feet high. The building's complex structure consists of 3 rectangular tiers and may have been an attempt to harmonize Lycian, Greek and Egyptian architectural styles. The first tier was a 60-foot stepped base. He was followed by an intermediate tier consisting of 36 Ionic columns and a tiered pyramidal roof. At the top of the roof was a tomb, decorated with the works of 4 sculptors and his 20-foot marble representation of his chariot drawn by 4 horses. The mausoleum was largely destroyed in a 13th-century earthquake, and its remains were later used to strengthen the castle. In 1846 one part of the mausoleum frieze was removed from the castle and is now in the British Museum in London along with other relics from Halicarnassus. Colossus of Rhodes. The Colossus of Rhodes is a colossal bronze sculpture of Helios, the sun god, built over 12 years by the Rhodians in the 3rd century BC. The city was in the early 4th century BC. Objectives of the BC Macedonian siege. According to legend, the Rhodians paid for the Colossus by selling tools and tools left behind by the Macedonians. Designed by sculptor Challis, this statue was the tallest in the ancient world at 100 feet. Around 280 BC. Has completed. It endured for 60 years until it collapsed in an earthquake. It was never rebuilt. Hundreds of years later, Arabs invaded Rhodes and sold the remains of the statues for scrap metal. Because of this, archaeologists don't know much about the statue's exact location or appearance. Most people believe that the sun god is naked, holding a torch in one hand and a spear in the other. The statue was once thought to stand on his one leg on either side of the harbor, but most scholars now believe that the statue's feet were close together to support its enormous weight. I agree that it is likely built. Lighthouse of Alexandria. The Alexandria Lighthouse was located on a small island called Pharos near the city of Alexandria. It was designed by the Greek architect Sostratus and built around 270 BC. During the reign of Ptolemy II, the lighthouse helped guide Nile ships to and from the city's busy harbor. Archaeologists found ancient coins depicting a lighthouse and speculated that the structure was his 3 tiers. Above him is a 16-foot statue, most likely of Ptolemy II or Alexander the Great, after whom the city is named. Estimates for the lighthouse range from 200 to 600 feet, but most modern scholars believe it was 380 feet tall. The lighthouse was gradually destroyed in a series of earthquakes from 956 to 1323. Later, some of its remains were found at the bottom of the Nile River. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe.